Have you ever wondered how animators can turn this simple rough head sketch into amazing anime characters like this? But when you try to do it yourself, it turns into something else, like a curse. Well, we've all been there. But today, you're in luck because I'm going to show you everything I've learned from taking different anatomy lessons, specifically on how to draw the head. We'll start with understanding the structure of the head by breaking down and simplifying the anatomy of the skull. Then we will define the planes of the face, and we'll end by adding a simple character on top of it to show you how it works in a practical way. I'm also going to show you some resources and cheat sheets you can use to draw and animate head turns, but more on that later. Now let's go over the structure of the head by understanding the skull. Here you have the front and side view of the skull, and the very first thing I want you to be aware of is that the skull is not a perfect circle. If we draw a circle on top of the front view, we can see that the sides of the circle are pretty much cut off. And on the side view, we can see that it is more of an egg shape rather than a complete circle. Another thing to notice is that this area of the skull, which is called the mandible, is the only thing that moves, which helps our mouth move from open to close. Now, the skull itself actually has a lot of different parts, even though it's just one mass. But we won't go over each of those one by one, so you can just pause right here if you want to actually see and study them. You don't have to know each of these parts by name, but it's very good to know for reference. The main thing I want to focus on here is that all of this can be simplified into two main parts: the facial cranium and the neurocranium. This is where all of these diagrams you see from various Pinterest tutorials came from. One of the most obvious parts of the skull is its three main holes. The first two are the eye sockets, which are more square rather than a circle. This is where the eyeball goes. The other one is this pear-shaped opening where the nose will be located. Now let's take a look at the side view where we can notice how the eye sockets are angled a bit. The upper part is tilted forward while the lower part is at the back. So when drawing eyelids, the upper eyelids will always be a bit forward and the lower lid will be slightly recessed. The nose itself will be made entirely of cartilage, so the actual bone part only ends right here. And if we simply draw the nose as a triangle shape, then you can notice these key points on the profile. There will be a bulge here at the area between the eyebrow, the nose, the mouth, and the chin area. And the amount of bulge will really depend on person to person. Now, this angular part of the mandible is basically the jawline, and we can see it here at the front view as well. This is also another key point that significantly affects the shape of a person's face. Another key point you want to remember is the bone right here, which is located at the side of the cheekbones. In the front view, this is where it is, and for some people, this is the widest part of their face. In contrast to that, the widest part of the cranium is right here, where the top of the head is basically rounded out up until this point, where it starts to be a straight line. This is another key point you want to remember since it affects the silhouette of the head. Now, on the side view, there is another bulge next to where the ear attaches at the lower part of the skull. This is where the neck muscles are attached, which extends toward the center of the collarbone. And from the front view, the neck muscles look like this. We can also see how the back muscles are attached to the back of the head like this, and it wraps around and gets attached to the clavicle bone right here. Now, when we look at the top view of the skull, it is good to note that it is also not a perfect circle as well, but rather cut diagonally, and it's wider at the back than in front. This is the widest part that we saw earlier at the front view. Now with this in mind, I want to put an actual facial planes so we can start visualizing where our features are going to go. First, I want to draw the silhouette of the head, keeping in mind the important bones that affect the shape of the head. Then I draw this shape that resembles a mask, starting from the brow line towards the side planes like this, then goes all the way to the nose. I then draw the eyeballs where our eyes will wrap around. I also draw this shape where the cartilage of the nose will be at. Then, to define the sides of the face, we can follow along the skull's contour and connect the corners of this mask to the chin. I then draw the line for the mouth. I would also draw the neck muscles at this point and the collarbones, which are called the clavicle. I will also draw the back muscles to complete the head all the way to the collarbone for reference. I will also draw the ears roughly from the brow line to the nose line. Now, it is good to note that these are realistic human proportions, but we can always adjust it based on the shape, characteristics, and style of the character we want to draw. Now, I want to draw this head following a more anime style. When I draw heads, I often just go ahead and draw the shape itself rather than using circles as my guide. Then I draw a center line and establish the hairline, brow line, the nose line, and the chin, which are basically equal distance from each other. Then I draw the mask that contains the eyeball and the opening of the nose. Then I draw these lines that really establishes the sides of the face. Now for the mouth, I draw this line between the nose and the chin, but more closer to the nose. I then establish the length of the neck by drawing the clavicle and connecting the head with the neck and back muscles. Keep in mind that these are just guides that you can draw over different shapes of head to establish where your facial features are going to go. Here's how it looks like on the 3/4 view and the side view. One thing I want to mention is that these corners of the mask shape is actually recessed from the face, as you can see in these views. Just imagine taking out a mask with this shape from the whole face mask. Now, this is basically how I draw a simplified version of the head anatomy, and while this is not perfect in any way, it works for me. So let me show you a demo of how I use it as a base to draw a character. I'm choosing to draw Akaza from Demon Slayer because I heard he stole the show in the movie I have yet to watch. I hope my girlfriend sees this and get the hint that I really want to watch the movie. We've been really busy moving in over the past month and I just started a new job, so I'm sorry for the lack of videos lately. But hopefully I'm back with doing live streams and posting videos. So in this demo, I'm still using a reference to ensure that I'm drawing a character properly on model. I'm also making sure that the shapes are consistent with the references, keeping in mind the proportions and distance of each feature from one another. While my head structure underneath is a great base, I'm not really tied to it as it is only a rough guide. Sometimes I will need to adjust certain features and deviate away from the head structure depending on the reference and style. It is also good to note which muscles I choose to draw, and that will depend on the style, the character's features, and lighting. Now, one thing I want to mention is that I don't actually draw this whole structure of the head every single time. I can draw a character with a simple head mannequin like this, but this is only because of my understanding of the underlying structure of the head. Even though I don't draw it, I can visualize it and tell if something is wrong with my drawing by understanding where these facial features should be. Now for you, you can try drawing anime characters using this head structure by tracing over it at the beginning to familiarize yourself with how it works. The file I used for this video will be available for you down in the description below, together with 2 more awesome resources for animation if you want to animate a head turn. I will probably create another video on how to animate a head turn using these resources, but for now, this is what we have as a sketch. Now it is time to clean it up with proper Genga lines and fills that are used in anime, so I can stay on brand. Here's another quick 17-second time-lapse of what you can call Negan work or cleaning up the Genga. And here's the actual colored version if you want to really go beyond and surpass your limits as a Genga warrior. Anyway, that's it for this video, but before we go, I would love to thank these awesome members of my Patreon and YouTube memberships. It is because of you that I get to make content that helps fellow animators like us. And for you who are still contemplating of joining my Patreon, I post weekly drawing and animation resources, cheat sheets, and more, which can help you get better at drawing and animating faster. Regardless whether if you want to join or not, I'm back in posting videos, and I'm going to try to make 2 videos a month on this channel moving forward. So let me know down in the comments below what else you want to learn about drawing and animation. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.